Lara deserves to keep his record. Wiaan Mulder after 367 not out. Why Wiaan? Why would you declare when you are 34 runs away from surpassing Brian Lara, Brian Bloody Lara, and becoming the highest individual scorer in an innings among all the 3,234 men who have yet played Test cricket? Are you sated by having made the most runs by anyone in an away Test, more even than Hanif Mohammed? Or by breaking Hashim Amla's South Africa record? Or by owning the highest score by a first-time captain? Mulder's undefeated 367 against Zimbabwe in Bulawayo, which he completed on Monday, July 7, is the subject of all of the above. His declaration came at lunch on the second day, when South Africa were 626-5. They dismissed the home side for 170 midway through the third session, and enforced the follow-on. In the 16 overs Zimbabwe faced before bad light prompted stumps, they lost only one more wicket, but they remained 405 behind. South Africa's probability of victory wouldn't have been at all affected had they batted on until or if Moulder reached 401 and went past Lara. So, why Wiaan? We have to keep the main thing, and that is winning the Test, Moulder told reporters. I felt like we were in a good position to do that, and I didn't have to bat any longer. The main thing theory is a reference to the dictum that the main thing is to keep the main thing, which has been attributed to Stephen Covey, the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But there was more to that than this. Also, I think respecting the game is really important, letting someone like Lara keep his record, Moulder said. He's one of the greatest to ever have played the game, so he deserves that. And, yeah, I think we're still in a great position to win the game, and that's all that matters. Indeed, far from having Lara's feet in his sights, Moulder was sad that he had knocked Amla and his 311 not out against England at the Oval in July 2012, then the only triple century scored by a South Africa player, off his perch. I've worked with Hash, now the Lions batting coach, over the last couple of years, and he's obviously a Hall of Famer. So it's truly special to go past his record. But I always feel like a lot of the legends deserve certain accolades. I'm in no means close to a legend, so someone like Hash deserves to hold that record. Besides, another, bigger record looms. Victory in this match will take South Africa to an unprecedented, for them, 10 consecutive wins, a prize not lost on Moulder. The main thing is always the main thing. The main thing is to win. That is the focus of this team. I don't think the focus is on any individual's performance, or the highlights of their careers and their performances, and all that stuff. The main thing is to win a Test. Wiaan, we heard you the first time. But it's not the first time we've asked why Wiaan. Like we did 2 days before the start of the first Test against Pakistan at Newlands in January. It was New Year's Day, and a gaggle of reporters had gathered on the outfield waiting to speak to one of South Africa's players. On a hot afternoon, and even as the reporters' internal temperatures climbed, their enthusiasm drooped when they were told the cricketer on his way to them was Wiaan Mulder. Ah! Just like most players aren't as good at batting as they are at bowling, and vice versa, some are better at talking to the press than others. Nowhere is it written that everyone who has batted and bowled at the highest level is good at coming up with quotable quotes. Moulder wasn't. He was thoroughly decent and respectful, and he had none of the big-headedness that can infect those suddenly made special by playing for an international team. But he was a pedestrian press conference victim. Maybe because he had spoken Afrikaans exclusively before he went to St. Stithians, one of Johannesburg's best and plushest high schools. So expectations weren't high when he loped down the stairs, said hello and wished all present a happy new year. Because that's what decent and respectful people do, whether or not they are international cricketers. Then he said, I hate watching cricket. Especially when you feel like you're playing nicely and you could have filled some gaps that maybe the team needed. I've watched so much cricket over the last 4 weeks, it was terrible. I felt like, because I was playing cricket on the beach, which I was doing 100%, I'm like, why couldn't I be playing? I had a brace on, so my movement was limited. But it's so frustrating watching cricket. When you're playing a lot, I think you lose a little bit of the love for the game. And then when you're watching, that perspective is so important. You play for a lot of different reasons. When you're just ticking over, or sometimes you play for the paycheck, sometimes you play because you kind of have to. There are so many reasons you play, but watching is crap. Moulder was just back from breaking a finger against Sri Lanka at Kingsmead in November last year, and clearly he was champing at the bit. Never mind that. Who was this sharpshooting, straight-talking, eminently quotable bloke, who seemed to stand taller and straighter and more clear-eyed and far more assured than he had done in previous press engagements? And what had he done with Wiaan Mulder? It's tempting to answer those questions glibly. This was Moulder ASC as opposed to Moulder BSc. As in after and before Shukri Conrad. Perhaps that's too neat a theory, but there's no getting away from the fact that Conrad's appointment as South Africa's red ball coach and, significantly, as the test team's sole selector in January 2023 coincided with a dramatic alteration in the course of Moulder's career. Conrad took over from Mark Boucher. Moulder had scored 272 runs in 19 test innings with a best effort of 36. He averaged 14.31. In his 15 innings under Conrad, he has scored 881 runs at 80.09 and made 3 centuries. Or 200s and his undefeated 367. Shooks has backed me for many years, from my academy days, Moulder said. I do think that's freed me up to go and play and not worry too much about surviving and making every run count. The important thing is I feel like I deserve my position in the team. Or, rather, I contribute positively with bat and ball and catching in the slips. I think my role brings a lot of balance to the team. All of those things contribute to freeing myself up and being able to play at the best of my ability. Moulder's improvement has been less emphatic with the ball. He took 18 wickets at 26.38 before Conrad's arrival and has since claimed 19 at 23.21. But there is no doubt that, along with becoming a much better talker, he is also an exponentially improved cricketer. That was true even before his triple century, when he averaged 46.72. More importantly, he has found ways for his decency and respect to influence how he plays cricket. Like when he was in hospital in Durban waiting for his broken finger to be treated. Then a denizen of the middle order, he knew his injury would prevent him from managing the cross-batted strokes demanded of someone facing tiring bowlers and an aging ball. But he figured he could still play straight, like top-order batters must do. An idea was hatched: "Coach, how about I bat at number 3? Conrad agreed, and Moulder has batted at number 3 in all 7 of his subsequent trips to the crease, displacing Tristan Stubbs, who Conrad had previously proclaimed as his preferred player to take guard at the fall of the first wicket. When Temba Bavuma was invalid out of the 2 tests in Bulawayo because of the hamstring he hurt in the heroic cause of helping South Africa hammer Australia in the WTC final at Lord's last month, Conrad tapped Keshav Maharaj to stand in as captain. Fair enough, Maharaj has led South Africa in 7 ODIs and 5 T20s, and he is never without a plan for any situation. But when Maharaj was ruled out of the second test against Zimbabwe with a groin strain, Conrad installed Moulder as captain. Moulder captained teams in 31 junior matches, a dozen of them under 19 internationals. But his only senior match in charge was leading Leicestershire against Kent in a Royal London Cup quarter-final in Leicester in August 2022. Never in his 87 first-class matches had he been at the helm. So, why Moulder? Conrad's reply to the question was more of a riposte: why Wiaan? Every question is why Wiaan. The more responsibility I give him, the better he reacts. 367 unbeaten runs later, Conrad's words shimmer like a prophecy fulfilled. There are elements of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn about Moulder's path through the game. Before he went to St. Stithians, he had as much use for speaking English as he did for wearing shoes. He's from Krugersdorp on the West Rand, a place best known for its failed gold mine and as the headquarters of the South African chapter of the Christian cult called the Jehovah's Witnesses. Moulder still looks like a lost, lonely country boy as he shambles round-shouldered back to his bowling mark, his fuzzy blonde hair and beard rippling in the breeze like his own personal tumbleweed. Then he turns and runs in tall, straight, clear-eyed and assured, and you have the answer. Why Wiaan? That's why. Subscribe for more cricket updates and match insights.